Timeless Toni Storm, the big reveal. So you have seen the AEW Collision, and that's a point in itself, episode where Toni reverts back from her initial character, which is who has amnesia and doesn't remember she's in AEW, to then becoming Timeless Toni Storm once again. Do you want to give us sort of like a layout of the past 6-7 weeks since you returned, or would you prefer I do it?
I prefer you do it because, quite honestly, I have been watching everything she's done, and it's one of those things. I said Toni Storm may be the best act, the most original act, the most well thought out with every aspect, every nuance and detail. It's a word I used to use all the time. The black and white, her commitment to the bid, everything there, I believe, was a gold mine. And then it kind of just fizzled off. And even with this Mariah May type angle, I believe the Tony Storm on her own could have still been doing things for many weeks and months. Like I talked about with, vignettes, locals, giving her little spots to shine, commentary. You could have bought almost a full year before this girl even sniffed the woman's title. And you kind of like really use the express lane to do that, then it feels like the express lane from new toy to old toy, which Tony Khan just shuffles these talents around like they're action figures.
Britt Baker. I mean, that's
Yep.
I mean, we don't know if she's been kept off TV because of a fallout or anything, but I mean, she's now the old toy because you've got, well, you did have Toni Storm and now you've got Mercedes Moné. So yeah, it's a revolving door of characters. I don't know why Toni Storm was taken off TV for 4 months at all. I don't know if she was injured. I don't know if she requested the time off. And I tell you what, there's an awful lot of people requesting time off from AEW and getting it. It's like, where's Saraya? Where's Paige? Like, where's so many? Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent.
Well, let me get this point across too, because what you're saying is excellent. This is the point in modern wrestling, and I'll give Paul Heyman and Axel Rotten. I told this story before. Paul and Axel did not get along at all. But that didn't mean Paul was just going to sit Axel at home. By the way, we work, we get paid. So there's no guarantee to even sit at home and get paid. He still brought Axel in and said, I don't personally, he never said it, but you could tell he didn't personally get along with Axel. They butted heads all the time. Axel didn't like him. Paul didn't like him. That's my educated guess just from watching them interact. And I wrestled Axel plenty of times where Paul was interacting with all three of us. Very much a cold shouldered Axel, very favorable to me. And then years later, it was, I got the feeling of the Axel Rotten treatment. With that being said, Axel Rotten was brought in to work even more to put other talent over. Paulie still saw Axel is a hell of a hand, a great talent to get the talent I want to push over, and I'm not sitting him at home. I'm using him. And now, of course, I'm never going to do anything with him, but what I can do is use him to get other people over. Tony Khan's not even doing that with the old toys and new toys. One last factor. Modern wrestling. Toni Storm, Britt Baker, this girl, Mariah May, Mercedes Moné, anybody in the WWE does it too. Okay, we got them to this point. They're instantly and permanently over. So no matter what we do to them or don't do with them, they're staying over. Absolutely 100% wrong. And this proves it. If you're gone, no matter how over you are, I should say, when you're gone a certain amount of time, the fans will forget and you never come back with the same amount of impact as that initial first impression. Is there anything you agree, disagree with that?
Steve Austin. When he came back in late 2000 after the neck surgery, it was never quite the same. And I don't care who's going to argue with me on that. It's true. I mean, they didn't book him as well.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point, because when he got his neck hurt with Owen Hart, he raised even more hell that had nothing to do with the ring and got even more over. It was not Steve's fault. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, I mean, he was gone 11 months, and apart from, a brief bit of like backlash, like 5 months afterwards where he dropped, I think he destroyed the DX Express or something. And then he just disappeared again. And I tell you what, it's out of sight, out of mind. And you will find out, even Steve Austin, that the company will survive without you. And then all of a sudden, the new shiny toy is The Rock. And I'm not saying there's interpersonal rivalries between those two or anything like that, but it wasn't quite the same when he came back. So if it's not quite the same when Steve Austin comes back, how's it going to be the same for Toni Storm to come back? And that leads us to her return, 4 months, sort of out of the blue, really, almost. She re-debuts, as it were, as her old persona, which was nothing really other than wearing some, heavy metal t-shirts. And now all of a sudden she's got amnesia. She doesn't remember Timeless Toni Storm, the character. She doesn't remember her first stint in AEW as just Toni Storm. And she's wrestling like a rookie. She's so happy to be in AEW. She's wrestling like a rookie, as I say, with snapmares and arm bars and that kind of thing. And then there's also, she's introducing herself to wrestlers like she's never met them before, like Thunder Rosa, etc. And then on AEW Collision this past Saturday, Tony Schiavone hosts Toni Storm and Mariah May, who is the AEW Women's Champion, in a face-to-face promotional interview. And the reason being is Toni Storm is the #1 contender after winning the Casino Gauntlet, and that's why they were facing off. Toni basically acts like she's Mariah's biggest fan, doesn't know who she is, she's starstruck, and then hugs her. Mariah May's already let Toni know that she's nothing to her. And then when Toni goes in for the hug, Mariah May attacks Toni, and that's sort of the setup to the rest of it. So, Stevie, what happened next?
I'm trying to define in my mind exactly what was thought of with what happened next, because might skip a couple little steps and details, but she stripped out of the original gimmick into her bra and panties and then said it was the performance of a lifetime. Did I skip anything?
No, that's pretty much it. The hardest role you will ever play is yourself, and that it was all a ruse, and it was the performance of a lifetime.
The pro wrestling, it was all a ruse. I love when a group beats the hell out of somebody for 6-7 weeks, and then when the tag team match comes up with the babyface who finally trusts the former heel, that heel who's had his face caved in for 7 weeks turns and says it was all a ruse. That's a trope that needs to go away. We talk about the tired old wrestling tropes. Number one here, let's talk about this. Just an overarching theme with this. Looking at this. Why is the babyface being deceptive to the heel? Why is the babyface trying to lure the heel into a false sense of security? Why is the babyface tricking the heel? These are all characteristics that the heel does, right? To be deceptive, to do a sleight of hand, to act like there's something, and then it was all a ruse. What's the point in doing it? And that's the thing, too. This all happened in one segment, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This was not 4 weeks of Toni Storm being her lackey, her #1 superfan, and Mariah May finally saying, maybe she doesn't remember, and lets the guard down. Then it comes. They've condensed 4 to 8 weeks of, and this could have been leading up to whatever pay-per-view there is, where Toni does turn back in to Timeless Toni Storm and cost Mariah May the title. Then it was all a ruse. But she built up no trust within the heel to say, I can treat her like crap, and she doesn't remember that we even have an angle. Is that what you're thinking too? There's a big missing component.
Yeah, there's two things really in that. Well, I mean, there's more, but like, why do you, one, get beaten up and then you get up and say, ha, I tricked you?
So sold everything.
Yeah, so one, she's the Terminator, and two, how does Toni Storm's deception help her gain an edge on Mariah May in any way if she didn't gain Mariah May's trust, as you say?
You're absolutely right. Or cost her the women's title and then reveal, I was just playing with you all along to get back at you. You're a bitch. And that's it. Because they got to call them bitches. You got to get that because, ooh, she's a bitch. So, and I said it 3 times. So, man, you never hear that on the show. I'm sorry, everybody.
You turn it into Okada, man.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on what they're doing to Okada again. I got enough heat for that too. He's perfect. Everything's great.
I tell you what, he's not a short match wrestler because he is slow. He will go his pace, whether it's long or short. Let me tell you. I think that might have been on.
Let him know you're getting your $5 million, whether you work 20 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's shorten it up a little bit.
Now, there's another bit that I want to bring to you is why now? Why is Toni Storm all of a sudden, they have the first like face-to-face interaction? I mean, Mariah May's obviously been doing commentary and talking about Toni Storm and all the girls and basically saying they're all terrible and she's great. Here's the thing, though. They're building up to AEW Grand Slam, which is in Brisbane, Australia, which one is actually a very, very hard city to sell out because it's a remote city even for Australia. So it's quite hard to sort of pack people in because people aren't going to be driving up, from other cities. You're going to have to fly in. And two, they're 3 weeks out. The tickets are not selling anywhere. I mean, originally it was a stadium show that's now moved to an arena, which they're still not selling out. And as of this recording still, because we're on Wednesday morning/afternoon we record this, so we don't know what's happening on Dynamite tonight, there's only 2 matches announced. And one of them happens to be Toni Storm versus Mariah May. So my theory is that they had to sort of race towards getting timeless Toni Storm back as an established character on television to help try and sell tickets and to sort of convince fans that there's a good chance that she will win.
This is Toni Storm's home country, correct?
No, she's from New Zealand.
I'm sorry.
But it's close enough. Apparently.
It will still garner her as a hometown hero. Which
home continent hero.
Home hemisphere hero. How's that?
Basically, yeah.
But what I'm saying is like it's close enough because obviously it's in that area of the world, so they can identify with her.
Yeah, I know, but it's the same as you. It's like, hey, welcome your hometown hero, Stevie, Bret Hart.
The North American connection, the Canada connection, Strike Force 2, bring them back. I don't think Bret and I being a tag team, those matches better not be Okada length. Let me tell you that. We will not stand for that. We're not paid by the hour or hopefully the minute. The thing about Toni Storm, let's do a little 2020 hindsight booking. It probably would have sold out an arena and possibly sold out a stadium if she wasn't gone for a quarter or a third of the year. That's what's hurting it. And now you're hot-shotting her back to a gimmick. And let me tell you, when you try to do this a second time, people, it's a lot less impactful. It's not going to get over as much as if she was never off TV and you built it steadily up. In other words, people now are looking like, all right, it was a ruse. You're bringing her back as timeless Toni. The fans are pretty smart. You're bringing her back just to try to sell a show out. You just rushing her back for this or that or whatever, and it's never going to be the same as the first impression, unfortunately for her. Because like I said in the beginning, they did everything right. This is like the NWO entrance with the black and white, with the burn film grain effect, all these little things that they do to make them say, these people and her, in this case, she's not like anybody else on the roster. She's special. Well, she's so special and she's so over. Why did she go away? That's outside of, God forbid, any personal issues, family issues, medical issues, whatever. I'm talking about strictly our information. We have no idea except for the fact she was taken off TV or she needed time off TV. That doesn't mean she couldn't continue to do vignettes and things if she could physically do them. I keep putting up that disclaimer because I don't know, but you really cannot recapture lightning in a bottle the second time. And if you could, please repeat that with everybody else on the roster because it's sorely needed.
My biggest issue, apart from the fact that it was on AEW Collision where, White won, I think it was 250,000 watched it, and if it was on Dynamite combining television and Max, you'd probably get 3 times the amount of viewers if you did it on Dynamite. But that's maybe the biggest issue. The second biggest issue is, why do it 3 weeks out? Because I think, when you have the big reveal leading to a big show, it's sort of best to do the big reveal very close to the big show. And now you've got 3 weeks expanse of time where you have to keep on building the story, even though the big angle's now already happened. I mean, can you think of any other examples where that works better, where you have the big reveal, the big angle, and then there's tons of TV to fill time in before the big show?
Well, if you booked it right and you had, all right, we got 3 weeks to do this. We need to make 3 weeks count, boost the ticket sales, get some pay-per-view buys, whatever it might be. There was something like where people said, oh, we're going to do a surprise at the show. We've talked about this a little bit. okay, if they've already bought the ticket, bought the pay-per-view, and then you give them the rock or you give them a surprise at the end or whatever it might be, you didn't sell one ticket or pay-per-view buy off of him being there. But if you advertise, I get sometimes, hey, it's already sold out. It already did well. Rocket is going to be a surprise at the end of like it was Bad Blood or something. I get that. What I'm saying with Toni Storm, they at least did it to try to buy some time to build up something so people will buy a ticket or the pay-per-view to see her. But the damage is already done because her and Big Show were doing the PR for the show at the stadium, and then it got transferred to the arena. I remember seeing a clip of them like in the stadium, right, doing something for a media day a
Yeah, that was
couple
quite a
weeks
few
ago.
months ago. Yeah.
Well, they aired it. They came up in my feed. I didn't know when it was, but that's the smart thing to do. But if they did it a week out, James, unless you had something where you're selling something huge there, I don't know if they're going to get a last minute spike in ticket sales based on that. 3 weeks out, it's a possibility. Actually, she never went away. You wouldn't need to try to rush it 3 weeks out and try to do whatever you can.
Mm.
She should have been talking about some match. When did Mariah May win the title?
All in Wembley, the Wembley show, August.
So a while ago.
Mm.
Well, there you go. If she had injured Toni by turning on her and there was an angle off of that, Toni returns, her rematch will be in Australia. I get that, but do we even know if they're going to have they're going to have the match, I would assume, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's already advertised.
Okay.
As I say, that's one of 2 matches advertised for the arena show. I should also stress to you, this isn't a pay-per-view. I think this is a TV special, which, as of this recording, I think, we still don't know what time it's airing.
I mean, these are important details. Also, are they doing the same thing that they did? It was all in. All in was Wembley. This we were going to get it confused again. Then a week later was All Out in Chicago. One was a TV, one was the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view.
No, both the pay-per-views. Both the pay-per-views. The way I work it out is in, out, shake it all about. So that's how you remember it's in
shake you
first
upside
and out.
down in your pockets for your money. In two each,
basically.
you do 2 pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this is such a big deal, why are we doing? I know Grand Slam is usually their TV special at the Arthur Ashe Stadium, which that always looked great. They did 2 or 3 Grand Slams at Arthur Ashe. That's a great building. But man, the logistics of flying talent over, flying production crews, building the set, moving it from a stadium to an arena. What's the rent look like? Did you pay the rent on the stadium? They just get a piece? There's a lot of different clunky logistic things that need to happen, especially shifting it to a smaller arena. Now what's the seating chart going to be? Now, where are you going to put the Titantron? Where are you going to put this? You're still not selling out. What do we do to fill seats? What do we got to bring in the Tarp Emporium? What do we have to do? It's a lot of, and it's international. So what if there's flight delays when you have to fly to town out like early for that now? Even though it was always booked that way, and you don't know what time the show starts. So come on.
I don't know if it's like when the show starts, but you don't know where it's airing in the States because there's going to be how much, what is there, a 17-hour time difference or something stupid?
So I'm assuming it's a tape show in the States, but live there, possibly?
Yeah, I figure so. What was the WWE show? There we go, Elimination Chamber in Perth. I figured that they decided to go to Australia after WWE had huge success in Perth. And that was in February.
But they also did Super Showdown in Australia, correct?
Did they?
Yeah, I thought it was Saudi, but I think the Super Showdown was actually Australia, the first show in a new stadium, I believe.
Oh, for God's sake. Unless it was a special.
No, it was a pay-per-view, Super Showdown.
Elimination Chamber Perth was the last one.
Not the last. I'm talking about one of them. I think the first one they did was
Super Showdown. You're absolutely right. October 6th, Super Showdown, Melbourne Cricket Ground, and that was 2020. That was 2018.
Take that, CTE. Take that.